Hey, happy Friday. This week IBM launched the first 0.7 nanometer chip, Apple raised prices across the board, and Softbank released their funniest slides yet, and that's saying a lot. Welcome to the Friday Checkout. This video was sponsored by IEEE Spectrum. Okay, for my first story of the week, IBM says that they've successfully built the world's first sub-1 nanometer chip. Specifically, it's equivalent to 0.7 nanometers, and they released some pretty cool visualizations for how it works, including real atomic scale photos. You'll note that the transistors feature nanosheets that are stacked horizontally on top of each other, and when you zoom into them, you can see individual silicon atoms, of which there are 15 rows across one transistor. If you look carefully, these scale markings, which show 20, 10, and 4.5 nanometers under the zoomed-in images, show you what we've known for long, which is that the transistors aren't actually 0.7 nanometers or whatever, but instead this visualization explains what is going on. Going from left to right, we have a FinFET transistor, an older technology, which is placed vertically, so to say. Next, we have what IBM calls nanosheets, our current technology, also known as gate-all-around, which shows 3 channels stacked horizontally on top of each other. And on the right, you see multiple nanosheet modules with 3 channels each stacked on top of each other, so this is now kind of a 3D structure with transistors on top of other transistors. So we're really at a point now where we're starting to put transistors on top of other transistors instead of next to them. That's pretty crazy. They say that the chips are 70% more efficient or 50% more powerful than the 2 nanometer node chips that IBM first unveiled back in 2021. And of course, the new chips require ASML's high-NA EUV machine along with other things to be made. And if you're like, wait a second, IBM makes chips? Actually, they don't. They're more like a research and development organization, and they help other chip companies figure out how to make the next generation chips. So this is kind of like a precursor technology. Intel, Samsung, and TSMC are all working on similar ideas, though with slightly different implementation, so we'll see which one wins in the end, but either way, IBM says that their tech should show up in real chips around 2031. Okay, moving on to my second story of the week, Apple announced that it is raising prices across the board on their products. As always, a link to the full list will be down in the description, but most products seem to be going up, including Macs, iPads, and Apple TVs, as well as Vision Pros. Some are going up by as much as $500, and even the MacBook Neo is going from $599 to $699. Not on the list are iPhones, Apple Watches, and AirPods, which means that Apple is probably swallowing the cost of memory increases in those categories to gain market share. Counterpoint has just released data that Apple has been gaining market share in essentially all of its product categories until recently, which I think could partially be explained by them being one of the few companies that haven't raised their prices until now. I wonder how their market share would fare after this increase. Now, at the time of writing, many of the Apple products are actually still on sale on Amazon due to the Prime Days, that is, so their prices haven't actually gone up yet. They're actually still on discount, but by the time you're watching this, I can't guarantee anything. Still, I've put a couple of links in the description. You can check where they are by the time you're watching this. Okay, and for my third story of the week, you know Softbank? The frankly somewhat insane Japanese company that has been a huge investor into companies from WeWork to ARM, OpenAI, and more. This week they released new documents for their shareholders that include some of the funniest pages that I've ever seen. They declared themselves a goose that lays golden eggs, which 16 years ago had 3 eggs, and now it has 74 eggs, representing the growth of the value of their portfolio. Apparently, quote, eggs don't lay eggs, it was the goose that created the value. Then they say that, quote, true value is the power to keep laying eggs, and in case you were wondering, they will soon have 1 quadrillion Japanese yen in net asset values because they have a, quote, golden egg factory inside the goose, with the eggs now being made of artificial superintelligence. The slides even point out that this is an internal mechanism of the goose, in case you were wondering. I love everything about this. This is one of Japan's biggest and most serious companies ever, and yet every time they talk, it's like a child explaining their business to another child. Of course, Softbank is famous for the most amazing presentations like this one that shows a valley of coronavirus with horses entering the valley and then unicorns exiting, or these 4 famous slides where their whole plan for turning WeWork around was to, drumroll, increase gross profits and then to lower operating expenses. Yes, the grand strategy to becoming profitable is to just make more money, bro. Just do that. Everything will be fine. Nobody has thought about that before. Anyway, moving on to our release monitor, Slate launched their much-hyped electric truck. It starts at $25,000 as the most affordable pickup truck in the US with very few frills, and it has a modular design that allows the buyer to add a back part to it to turn it into an SUV, vinyl wraps to change the exterior, and more. It's kind of fun. Next, Leica has announced the SL3P along with 2 new lenses as an update for their full-frame lineup. It features a 44-megapixel sensor, and for the price of 4 camera bodies, you can buy a Slate truck. Nice! Meanwhile, Meta also announced their newest AI glasses that now no longer feature the Ray-Ban branding and are therefore a little bit cheaper. Functionality-wise, they're almost identical to the Ray-Bans, which means they're still absolute privacy nightmares, but now they're just called the Meta glasses, and they come in 3 styles, including a more feminine-looking sunglass form factor that is apparently made in collaboration with none other than Kylie Jenner. Hooray, you can be a creep in style! Counterpoint has just launched their latest market share figures that show that while VR headsets have declined in sales, ER glasses actually grew, and especially smart glasses, which are the type that you get with the Metas, have actually grown massively by 210% year over year. Still, it's only about 2 million smart glasses sold a quarter, so it's not a huge market yet, but they're clearly starting to become a thing. Okay, and onto the brief, Canyon showed off a concept called the Predict. It builds a bunch of sensors into both the front and the back of the bike, and also an onboard computer that predicts something dangerous is about to happen, such as a car pulling out ahead of you or overtaking you from behind in a dangerous way. If the computer notices, the bike starts blinking and gives you haptic feedback, and the danger also shows on the screen. Now, a computer telling to look down at a screen in front of you while there's potential danger ahead of you seems a little counterintuitive to me, but the rest of the system could be cool. Next, here's something I did not see coming. Shipping giant DHL is going to put cargo on wind-powered sailing ships across the Atlantic starting next year. The ships are from a French startup called Vila, and they have refrigeration that uses mostly solar panels on board. They cross the Atlantic in 15 days, and they should be almost carbon neutral. Interesting to see the revival of such technology. Then, in more clean tech news, Octopus, the British electricity company, partnered with Chinese battery giant CATL to unveil a giant EV truck battery swapping network across the country. They call this Swaptopus, it's rolling out in 2027, and it's based on the CATL battery swapping tech that already exists for trucks in China. The network will support up to 300,000 electric trucks, and what I find the most important, they also plan to use the batteries for vehicle-to-grid applications. In other words, if the trucks don't need them, the batteries can actually power the grid if needed. Let's see if that works. In extremely predictable news, the New York Times this week reported that the worst billionaire you know, Mark Zuckerberg, directed Meta to create a prediction markets app like Polymarket or Kalshi as well. I think pretty much everyone with 3 brain cells by now understands that these are unregulated online casinos that remain unregulated because of the people directly bribing the American government, and if Meta decides that they want in on that, I think that is extremely on brand for them. And in somewhat related news, OpenAI says that together with Broadcom, they're unveiling an LLM-optimized inference chip. The chip is called the Jalapeno Intelligence Processor because I guess the chip will run very hot, and next to Sam Altman is Broadcom CEO Hock Tan, who somehow manages to be, I think, an even less likable character than Sam. That's quite a remarkable achievement. Come to the jalapeno, it will scan your eyeballs. And still with AI, OpenAI and Microsoft just got sued by publishers that operate nearly 400 newspapers for scraping articles for training. This could be a pretty huge deal deciding on copyright and AI. Meanwhile, in more somewhat related news, a new study asked if AI is ruining our skills and found that it most likely is. Physicians in Poland were, quote, given access to an AI system that analyzes colonoscopy images in real time, and after 3 months, their ability to diagnose adenoma decreased from 28.4% to 22.4% without AI. Yikes. And while we are at studies published in Nature, there's new beef with a study essentially claiming that Microsoft's claims about Majorana 1, their quantum computer, were apparently wrong all along and basically came down to coding errors and misinterpreted information. Microsoft said that actually no, it's the researchers who are wrong, and I'm actually not qualified enough to understand what the question even is that they're fighting about, but either way, yay, science drama. Then in some good news, Samsung announced UFS 5.0 as the newest memory type to power phones, and it has a pretty ridiculous 10.8 GB per second of sequential write and 9.5 GB per second of sequential read speeds. That is more than twice as fast as UFS 4.1. That is insanely fast. It means that next-gen flagship phones will have speeds as fast as some current generation pretty high-end desktop SSDs. Nice! But then also this week, SK hynix, the other Korean memory giant, actually left behind Samsung and became Korea's most valuable company for a brief moment. SK hynix is the market leader in HBM, or the type of high bandwidth memory chips needed for AI, and when I checked their rankings, they were the 13th most valuable company in the world, with shares flip-flopping all the time, of course. That is a pretty remarkable place. Now, I'm actually planning to go to Korea to make 2 related videos that I'm very excited about, which I'll tell you about hopefully very soon. Meanwhile, I was reading up for high-end memory chips for one of those videos, and so I was really happy to see that my sponsor IEEE Spectrum had a great article on one of those next-generation AI chips which employ a whole new type of memory architecture. And like all things that I've read in their magazine, the coverage was thoughtful and approachable. IEEE Spectrum is the flagship magazine from the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, which has stood for real expertise for more than 60 years, and yes, a high-quality paper magazine written by people who actually know what they're talking about is particularly exciting in our times when media is increasingly dominated by low-quality digital slop. They always have a couple of retro topics like this one about teletext sprinkled in with the others, which are just a really charming way to learn about how the world works, and each of their papers has great photos, great illustrations, and great writing. There's something very relaxing about the distraction-free experience of just reading a well-written article in peace, and if you're interested in engineering, I think you'll really like this too. A subscription is a great gift idea too, and the magazines look great on a coffee table. Join engineers and innovators from around the world in subscribing to IEEE Spectrum with the link in the description or by scanning the QR code. Doing that will get you a special 20% discount, and it also lets them know that I sent you, which really helps this channel. Alright, I'll see you next Friday.